They mocked her grease-stained hands. They laughed at the idea that a mechanic's daughter could fix what top engineers couldn't. But when a silent Rolls-Royce sat dead for years, she walked in. Calm, unnoticed, and underestimated. What happened next left a billionaire speechless, and the whole world watching. Stay with us, because this isn't just a story about fixing a car. It's about rewriting what people believe is possible. The grand showroom echoed with laughter as top engineers failed one by one. A vintage Rolls-Royce Phantom, worth millions, stood silent and lifeless in the centre. It had refused to start for years, and every expert labelled it beyond repair. Then came Ivy, just 17, with oil-stained overalls and quiet eyes. She wasn't part of the official team, just the daughter of an old garage owner. People whispered as she entered, some scoffing, others outright laughing. "She's here to sweep the floor," one technician smirked loudly. But Ivy's gaze was fixed on the car like it was speaking to her soul. She didn't flinch at the mockery, only rolled up her sleeves. To her, this was more than a challenge. It was a chance to honor her father's legacy. Her father had passed away last winter, leaving behind his tools and teachings. He'd always told her, "Cars have hearts. You just have to learn how they beat." Ivy grew up under hoods and beneath axles, learning not by books, but by instinct. While others saw nuts and bolts, she saw rhythm, memory, and emotion. The showroom team, full of degrees and arrogance, couldn't comprehend that. They looked at specs and scanners. Ivy listened with her hands. As she stepped closer to the Rolls-Royce, the room fell into a stunned silence. Could this teenage girl really attempt what 12 certified engineers couldn't? The lead manager raised an eyebrow and said, "Go ahead if you dare." Ivy simply nodded and opened the hood with calm precision. The engine was a maze of metal and age, a sleeping beast covered in dust. Others had replaced parts, swapped components, but never understood the soul. Ivy's fingers traced the engine gently, like a pianist preparing a forgotten symphony. She felt the tension in the wires, the age in the belts, the breath in the valves. Then she did something strange. She closed her eyes and listened. Everyone stared, confused. Was this girl meditating with a machine? But then she spoke quietly. "It's not the parts. It's the sequence. It's the timing." She pulled a wrench from her father's old leather kit, his initials still on it. With deliberate grace, she tightened, tapped, adjusted. Not a guess. Each move was intuition sharpened by years of love. 1 hour passed. Then 2. The room that once echoed with laughter grew quiet. The technicians began to watch her more carefully, their smirks fading. Some began whispering to one another, noticing how confident she moved. One whispered, "She's doing something we all missed." A curious billionaire, Mr. Grayson, who owned the Rolls, walked in silently. He looked at Ivy with mild amusement until he saw her touch the engine. He raised his voice. "Is this a joke?" "Who let her touch my Phantom?" The manager stuttered, unsure how to respond. But Ivy didn't even look up. She was lost in her work. She turned one final bolt and quietly said, "Try the key." There was a long pause. The billionaire frowned but signaled to his driver. The driver, half skeptical, half nervous, stepped in and turned the ignition. The car coughed once, then again, and suddenly, with a deep growl, it roared. The unmistakable purr of a perfectly synchronized Rolls-Royce engine filled the hall. Mouths fell open. Engineers blinked in disbelief. The silence was explosive. The billionaire stared, his cigar frozen halfway to his mouth. "No way," he whispered, stepping toward the car as if it were reborn. "She did it," one assistant murmured. "She actually brought it back." The once skeptical technicians began clapping, slowly at first, then louder. But Ivy didn't wait for applause. She quietly closed the hood and stepped back. Mr. Grayson approached her, disbelief in every step. "Who taught you this?" he demanded, eyes sharp with curiosity. "My mom," Ivy replied with a soft smile. And my dad, before he passed. He was silent for a beat, then nodded slowly. You're not just a mechanic's daughter, you're a prodigy. Media personnel who had come to report on the failed restoration turned cameras to her. Flashes went off, microphones pushed forward, questions flew like arrows. But Ivy only looked uncomfortable, wiping her greasy hands on her overalls. She hadn't come for fame. She came for the car. She came for her father's memory, not the spotlight. Overnight, the video of Ivy reviving the impossible Rolls-Royce broke the internet. Social media exploded with hashtags like #GreaseQueen and #Phantom Whisperer. People around the world were moved by her humility and unmatched skill. Offers began pouring in from luxury car companies and elite engineering schools. TV channels begged for interviews. Some called her a genius, others a miracle worker. But Ivy remained grounded, still showing up every day at her small-town garage. She didn't trade her tools for a microphone or suit. Instead, she started teaching local kids how to feel engines, not just fix them. She believed knowledge was meant to be shared, not sold. And the kids believed in her more than any textbook. One day, a black limousine pulled up at her garage. Out stepped a woman in a power suit, CEO of a major auto corporation. Ivy, we want you to lead a new division, Electric Classics, she offered. You'll be designing the future with the soul of the past. It was a dream for many, but Ivy took a moment before answering. She looked at her dad's old garage, the rusted walls, the hanging tools. I'm honored, she said softly, but I belong here, for now. The woman smiled. Then we'll wait. Greatness doesn't have to leave home. They shook hands, not as boss and recruit, but as equals. Respect had found its way to the girl once mocked for her greasy hands. Ivy's story became a chapter in engineering schools across the world. Professors taught her methods. Mechanics quoted her instincts. But Ivy never sought to be worshipped, just understood. She often told her students, machines are honest. They reflect the hands that touch them. She believed even the most broken thing could be rebuilt, with patience. Kids from underprivileged backgrounds saw her and believed in second chances. She didn't fix just a car that day. She fixed how people saw girls in garages. She broke stereotypes with every bolt she tightened. She inspired not through power, but quiet mastery. And in doing so, she changed an entire industry's heart. A year later, Ivy stood beside that same Rolls-Royce at a national expo. This time, she wasn't laughed at. She was introduced as the guest of honor. The billionaire Mr. Grayson stood beside her, proud and humble. He confessed to the crowd, "She gave this car its voice and gave me mine." People applauded, some with tears, others with admiration. Ivy just smiled shyly, still wearing the same overalls. No diamonds, no spotlight-hungry speeches, just truth and the scent of metal, oil, and dreams. A journalist asked, "What's next for you?" She replied, "Whatever's broken and worth saving."